Hi everyone. I'm going to be reading I Will Always Write Back. It's the story we were reading in class about Martin and Caitlin. We left off on page 216. So just to refresh your memory, I'm going to go back a page or two and start reading from there. Each of these little recordings will be 15 minutes long, so you don't have to sit for a long time and remember where you left off if you're interested in hearing the rest of the story. This is not mandatory. It's just if you want to hear what happens with them, you can go ahead and continue listening. So I'm going to start on page 215, and it's Caitlin's chapter, and it's from December 2000. Okay. The photos weren't what I expected. Yes, Martin was the same smiling person I had grown to love like my own brother. In these images, he looked like a more grown-up version of that little boy in knee socks, whose photo remained beneath my glass desktop. But I was expecting sunny, bright blue skies and tall, bleached-out grass. I imagined his mom and dad wearing colorful traditional clothes made of hand-dyed fabrics. The dark and grainy photos Martin sent me were the opposite of those Technicolor images. In one, Martin was leaning against a building that looked like a wooden shack, not the thatched roof hut in my mind. My first thought was, that can't be his home. Our backyard tool shed looked bigger and sturdier. I flipped through the pictures several times, though, and realized that is his home. The ground around it was packed dirt scattered with jagged gray pebbles. There was a tree off in the distance, the only green spot in an otherwise bleak field of beige and gray. I studied the shot of Martin sitting between his parents on a bed in a dark, cramped room with all of his siblings gathered around. I figured that must have been his parents' bedroom. There was another shot of Martin and Nation on the same bed, and then another of just his parents with the youngest boy, George, again on that bed. I read the letter to see if it referenced the photos. That was how I learned that this was not their bedroom, it was their entire house. Martin wrote that he and his siblings had to move pots and pans in order to make space beneath his parents' bed to sleep. I went through all the photos again, looking for more clues about Martin's life. None of the kids were wearing shoes, including Martin. Does Martin even own a pair of shoes? I wondered, flipping again through the stack, looking for proof that I was wrong. Nothing. I looked up from the bottom bunk, stunned. My biggest complaint from the past year had been, why did Richie get the bigger room? I could never imagine having to sleep beneath my parents' bed. As for shoes, my closet door could barely close from all the pairs I had piled up in there, most of which I never wore. It seemed wrong that I had so much, and Martin and his family had so little. I thought it was my responsibility to share my good fortune with my best friend. I showed the photos to my parents that evening. They, too, were shocked by how hard his life looked. My mom kept shaking her head, saying, "Wow," over and over. "It's time for another care package," I said. My dad agreed. "How can we help?" I went to get the list I'd been compiling. "They're in the rainy season now," I explained. "They experience something called monsoons." "Like heavy tropical rains?" my mom asked. "Exactly," I responded. "But look at their house. You can practically see the gaps in the walls." "What are you proposing?" my dad asked. "Tarps," I said. "They sell them at the Army-Navy store," my mom added. "I also want to get them collapsible water buckets," I added. "His mom can use them to collect rainfall." "Smart," my dad said. "We'll go shopping tomorrow," my mom said. "Meanwhile, let's all clean out our closets." I used to give all my hand-me-down clothes to my two cousins who were several years younger than me, but my Uncle Jim and Aunt Kim could afford to buy them new clothes. Martin's family could not. I selected several pairs of shoes from my own, sneakers, flip-flops, and a pair of sandals. I realized they would only fit a few family members, and so I wrote a note to Martin asking him to send me everyone's shoe size, so no one was left out. The following day, we went to the Army-Navy store run by a guy wearing camouflage pants, work boots, and a Harley-Davidson t-shirt. "Hi, Jeff," my mom said as we entered the store, Richie's favorite shop. I explained what we were looking for, and Jeff selected several large tarps, 2 collapsible buckets, and rain ponchos in sizes small, medium, and large. "Do you have water purification tablets?" I asked as we piled things on the counter to buy. "Right on," Jeff said, grabbing 4 bottles of iodine tablets. "They will kill whatever is gnarly in the water," he said. "Guaranteed." Next, we went to Ross to get rain boots for everyone. We still did not know everyone's size, but these were easier to guesstimate than actual shoes. My mom also grabbed an umbrella. Back home, we added batteries for Martin's Walkman, lotions, pens, notebooks, and envelopes to the box, which Mom set up in the dining room. By mid-December, it was full. We included our family Christmas card, though I knew it wouldn't get there in time. It didn't matter. I just hoped it got there. I woke to familiar sounds and smells on Christmas morning, but when I got to the kitchen, my dad said, "Santa left your present outside this year." I was still in my PJs when I went outside to find a dark green 1996 Acura Integra with brand new shiny silver rims in the driveway. The license plate said Caitlin. "She's all yours," my dad said, handing me the keys on a red ribbon. I started screaming, which prompted Mom to tease, "Don't wake the neighbors." I had a hunch I was getting a car. My dad promised me I'd have something to practice driving by my 16th birthday that March. I didn't think my Christmas could get any better, but then back in the house and beneath the tree, there were still mounds of presents to open. That year, I got clothes, jewelry, socks, pajamas, and a dwarf white bunny. I decided to call her Lois after Martin's adorable little sister. It took a few weeks for me to finally write Martin back about the photos he had sent. I didn't mention them in my care package letter. Honestly, I was still figuring out the best way to even talk about them. I knew Martin was poor, but I had never seen that kind of poverty. I certainly didn't judge him for it. Instead, I was in awe. He remained so hopeful, so hardworking, so kind. My love and admiration for him grew even deeper. January 7th, 2001. Dear Martin, how are you doing? I am fine, and so is my family. For me, school is going really well. I have lots of homework and enjoy the whole process. How is school going for you? Have you heard about your O-level exams yet? How was your Christmas? I hesitated telling him about the presents I had received, but then I realized that he had been totally honest with me. I needed to be honest with him as well. I knew our friendship could handle it. I wrote about the small stuff first, and then the biggest surprise for me was a car. Now everyone in my house has a car. I also told him about Lois. I got a dwarf white bunny, and I have named her Lois. I selected that name because she is sweet, cute, and little, like your sister. I hope you and your sister don't mind. She is now about 10 weeks old, and she joins Louis, my male medium lop bunny. I keep them in the house because we have about 12 inches of snow, and it's too cold for them. Anyway, I can pet them all the time and carry them around. I still had not mentioned the photos. I wasn't sure what exactly to say about them, so I decided to speak from my heart. Thank you so much for the photos. It was wonderful to see you and your beautiful family. It is sad that in this world you must still live in poverty. I understand this is, unfortunately, commonplace in many nations. We do have poverty in the U.S., but our government is frequently able to rescue the needy, but not always. I wish there was more I could say on the issue, but truthfully, Martin was the reason I was finally opening my eyes to the fact poverty existed, not just in Africa, but everywhere, including Pennsylvania. I I also told him about the mixtape I was making for him. I've been making lots of mixtapes for my friends that year, so it was fun to make one for Martin, especially since he might not know all the music American kids were listening to. I had this radio cassette player with a microphone attachment, so I could tape record my own voice as well as music. One weekend I spent 2 hours making a recorded letter, introducing all my favorite songs along the way. And now here's Pink singing Most Girls. I'd say it in a goofy fake radio voice and then hit play, and Most Girls Want a Man with the Bling Bling filled the space right behind my voice. I also included Who Let the Dogs Out, which had become a huge hit that summer, and Eminem's The Real Slim Shady, my latest obsession. His photos, torn from magazines, were quickly replacing the Backstreet Boys on my bedroom wall. I ended the letter asking Martin about his family's employment status and catching him up on the latest drama in our home, namely that Richie had moved back in. Richie felt as though he was making poor decisions at California University and needed to be home to have my parents guide him back to make the right choices. That was code for Richie preferred partying to go to his classes, and so my parents refused to pay for another semester until he straightened out. I included some candid shots from Christmas, including a photo of my new car, and one of me and Lois. I have enclosed a few photos for you. I hope you like them. I feel pictures help us know each other better. This is important when you come to the U.S. to study. Have a wonderful summer, winter in Hatfield, and give your family lots of hugs and kisses from me. Love, Caitlin. P.S. Here's some of my Christmas money for you, too. I didn't tell my parents that I sent Martin cash this time, but I knew by now they would not mind one bit. Okay, so that is the end of part 3, and part 4, A Future, that's what the rest of the book is called. I will start recording on the next session. So this is part 1 for me reading to you guys, and I'll just continue doing 15 minutes as we go. All right, I hope you enjoyed it, and sorry I make mistakes as I go, but I'm not a professional reader, so it is what it is. Okay, hope you liked it.